Alright, so the last one is called a linear pair. And we kind of looked at those a little bit yesterday because you had some sort of like that where there was numbers here on the angles and you had to solve it. And what did they equal whenever you had angles like that you had to solve? 180. So I'm going to put equals 180. That means if you add them together, they equal 180 degrees. Okay. Okay, another one that we've sort of mentioned already is this one here. These two angles are across from each other. Remember what they're called? Vertical angles. And I know vertical angles implies that they're like up and down. And this angle are also vertical angles. But they're also vertical even if they're sideways beside of each other. Okay? So that has two pairs of vertical angles actually. Either the two purple ones or the two black ones. Both are vertical. Okay? What was their relationship when we mentioned them yesterday? They were the same. So whatever one of them is, the other is the same. Okay. Now, as far as the two purple, they're the same, and the two black are the same. But the purple and the black are not the same because they're not vertical angles. What kind of angles are the purple and the black? Linear, because they're side by side still. Okay. Okay. All these other ones up here, they're the ones that you did probably, I would say 8th grade probably. There's alternate interior, there's alternate exterior. There's same side interior, and there's same side exterior, and then there's corresponding. Okay? So, let's talk about the alternates first. If they're alternate, that means they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay? A transversal, like if you have two parallel lines, the transversal is a line that goes through it. That goes through the parallel lines. So that purple line is the transversal. Okay? Here's another way that you could have it. You could have two parallel lines going that way, and then the line going through it. Okay? So the purple line is the transversal. On all of these pictures, it's that diagonal line. Okay? When you think about alternate, one's on one side of the transversal and one's on the other side of the transversal. So looking at all those pictures, which ones, there's two of them, look like they could possibly be alternate? These two here, the second and third one? Because one's on one side and one's on the other side. Same thing up there. Do you see that with those two? Okay? So those two are the alternate ones. But one's interior and one's exterior. And when you think about interior and exterior, what you do is you look at the parallel lines, and like inside the parallel lines, that's interior. Okay? Outside the parallel, oops, that's not right. Outside the parallel lines, so like outside of wherever the lines are, that's exterior. Okay? So the second one is going to be interior. And the third one's going to be exterior. Look at the two angles that are highlighted. Do you think they're the same, or do you think they're different? And when we say the same and different, I'm talking about like how wide it is. The width of those angles that are highlighted. Do you think they're the same or different? They look the same, so they're congruent. Okay. Now, two of the angles, or two more of them, are on the same side of the transversal. So when we talk about same side of the transversal, if this, look in that purple line, same side is either on the right or on the left. For here, it's on the bottom are on the top? Okay? So can you pick out two of them that are on the same side? They're all on the same side, right? Do you agree? Okay. So two of them are same side interior and same side exterior. Okay? And then one of them is sort of just different. Okay? The first one's the different one. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Okay? Second or third, 1, 2, 3, fourth and fifth one. Okay? If you look at the fourth one, you see how those two angles are inside the parallel lines? They would be like in this first yellow part because they're inside and they're on the same side. That one's going to be same side interior. And then this one's going to be same side exterior. They're on the same side of the transversal, but they're outside the parallel lines. Okay? So same side interior. Same side exterior. All right, I'm calling them same side. I have seen different books that call them consecutive interior. And I don't really know where that name comes from. Consecutive means one right after the other. But if you see those words consecutive instead of same side, that's what that's talking about, okay? All right, look at these two angles. Do you think they're the same width? So like this one right here, that's how wide it is. And this one right here is this wide. See, this one's acute. The one with the two little lines, that's acute. That's a small angle because it's not quite a 90. And if you look at this one, that's obtuse because it's big. They're not the same, okay? And so they are also equal to 180. All right, that very first one, it's kind of a weird one. It's called corresponding. And you can abbreviate these. I'm just writing the whole word, at least for our notes. Those are corresponding angles. And what happens with corresponding angles is that they are on the same side, but one is outside the parallel lines and one is inside the parallel lines. So one, if you look at that picture, there's one that's like underneath the parallel lines. And then if you look inside, there's one that's inside the parallel lines. So one is outside and one is inside, but they are on the same side. They just don't have same side in the name. Okay? Do they look like they're the same or do they look like they're different? They look like they're the same, so they are congruent. Now, when I keep saying they look like they're the same or whatever, we're talking about the way they look, but there are rules that when you have two parallel lines and you have a transversal that goes down it, that if you have corresponding angles, they are congruent. That's a theorem. It's just a rule that somebody's figured out. If you have alternate exterior or interior, those angles are congruent. Okay? If you have same side interior or exterior, those are equal to 180. And if you have vertical angles, those are congruent. Linear pairs we've already talked about, and they are also equal to 180. Okay? Any questions about just naming the angles and trying to figure out what the sizes are? Okay, so after we figure out what kind of angles they are, and after we figure out if they're congruent or not, we then have to figure out, well, how do we find the angles? So look at number 1. It's got a question mark there across from the 75. So what kind of angles are those? They're vertical angles because they're across from each other. Because they're the same, that means that our answer on number 1 is 75. So number 3, we're going to go down and do a couple of those odds. What kind of angles are those? Same side interior, right? Yeah, these are same side interior. Because they're same side interior, the two angles are equal to 180. So to find what I'm looking for, I'm going to do 180 minus 55. So 125 is my answer on 3. So basically, I'm trying to just figure out what kind of angles it is. And once I figure that out, it tells me whether it's congruent or not. So look at number 5. What kind of angles are those? They're on the same side. One's on the outside, one's on the inside. What's that called? Corresponding. Are they congruent or not? They're congruent. So what's this angle here? 89. Okay, number 7. What does that little box mean on number 7?
9 degrees.
Okay, look at the two angles that they have marked. Alternate interior. So they're congruent. So that means our question mark is 90. All right, let's look at a couple of these over here on this side. Let's look at 12 and 14. Okay, number 12. What kind of angles do we have on number 12? Alternate interior. You need to get in the habit of being able to look at it and tell me the angles, okay? Alternate interior, congruent. So to find x, I set the two angles equal to each other. And then I solve for x. So I add 5 on both sides. Divide by 13. And I think you get 5. So if the two angles are congruent, you set the two parts equal to each other and then you solve. Okay, look at 14, or 15, yeah, 14. What kind of angles are those? Same side interior. So what do we know about same side interior? They're equal 180. Okay? So what you do here is you take the two angles, you add them, and then equal them to 180. Okay? And then you solve for x. So you either set them equal if the two angles are congruent, or you set it equal to 180 if the two angles are equal to 180. And by knowing the kind of angles they are, that helps you figure that out. Okay? So on 14, you're going to add the 15 and the 69. I think it's 84. Subtract 84 on both sides. And then divide by 12.